Hi friends, hello. Today I'm going to explain you how we can generate access token for the SharePoint site and how to generate client ID, client secret in the SharePoint site and using those details, client ID, client secret and tenant ID, how we can generate access token in Postman. So this is my SharePoint site. In the SharePoint site to generate client ID and client secret, first you need to uh, go to URI. So this is the base URI. This is common. You need to copy this base URI. This could be different for your case. After that, you need to give underscore layouts and this app reg new.aspx. Go to this URL and click on generate client ID. Click on generate client secret. Title, you can give anything that you want. App domain, you can give anything that you want. Redirect URL, I am just giving it as localhost and just click on create. Once you click on create, you just copy this client secret value, this client ID value. But very important thing is this client secret, because once you come out of this page or once you close this tab, you won't be able to see the client secret again. Client ID we can get anyhow, but the client secret we cannot get. So this is very important. So just copy the client secret and paste it in a notepad. After that, you need to open another URI to register this client ID. So let me duplicate this tab, underscore layout. Instead of app reg, we have another URI called app.inv, app.inv.aspx. So in this, you need to give the client ID that which we generated previously, this client ID. Just copy it in the app ID, place the client ID. Let me copy, it has not copied properly. So copy the client ID, click on lookup. So once we get this bit tags, click on lookup, we get the details that we have provided in the previous screen. App permission, this is the permissions that which we need to provide full control. So if you observe app permission requests, allow app policy setting to true, app permission request scope, and this is constant for your case also. Just copy this app permissions, giving it the full control for the apps so that we can use the API endpoints to get all the details and click on create. Once you click on create, it will redirect to this page and here just click on trust it. Once you click on trust it, it will get redirect to site settings page. In the site set, see, we want tenant ID, right, to generate the token. So tenant, to get the tenant ID, click on site app permissions. Once we click on that site app permissions, as you observe, we have two records because this I have created previously. This I have created for our demo purpose. So if you observe, the first part is the client ID, and after the at the rate, the second part is the tenant ID. So this is important. Just copy this thing and paste it some notepad. I'm just deleting the second record because as I have already have that details. So if you go to site app permissions, now this is my client ID, and after that the rate symbol, this is my tenant ID. So I have everything that I required to generate a token. So I have pasted out over here. So this is my client ID, client secret, title, app domain. Now go to Postman. Now if you go to Postman to get the access token, this is the URI that which we need to use to get the access token. And in this URI, we have to provide the tenant ID. So this is the tenant ID that which we generated from the SharePoint site. So you need to replace your tenant ID in your case, and this one is fixed constant https accounts.accesscontrol.windows.net. This is fixed. After that backslash your tenant ID, and after that this is fixed backslash tokens backslash auth backslash 2. Okay, and the details we need to provide for the body section are these: grant type, client underscore credentials, client ID. In the client ID, just please remember an important point. You should provide both client ID at the rate of tenant ID. This is important because many people miss this step. They will just provide the client ID, but because as it is stating that client ID, they think that client ID itself is enough. But please note this point, very important. Along with the client ID, you need to provide at the rate tenant ID. So in our case, my tenant ID is this one, 98. So this is my tenant ID and this is my client ID. So 2DA blah blah blah, this is my client ID, and this 98D9 blah blah blah, this is my tenant ID. So if you observe, I have given like this, right? Client ID at the rate of my tenant ID. And after that, client secret, you need to provide the client secret that which we generated from the SharePoint side. And the resource, coming to the resource, this is fixed for all. For any case, this is the fixed. After that, backslash, and this is the domain name which we need to provide. And after that, at the rate the client ID. So in this way, we need to format the resource. This one is fixed, backslash domain name at the rate of tenant ID. This is the resource ID we need to provide. After giving all these details, just click on send button. Now we got the access token. So we can use this access token and we can call any API endpoints from the SharePoint site to get the details. For example, in my case, I have a list. So I want to get this bitpacks. In this bitpacks, I have two records, bitpack 1 and bitpack 2. Now I want to get these details from Postman using the access token that which we generated. So for that, you take another tab in the Postman and provide the endpoint URI, API endpoint URI, this one, this domain up to domain name. After that, underscore API web lists. My list name is bitpack lists and items. So this is the API endpoint URI. You can get various API endpoint URIs in the Microsoft site. So here REST endpoint URIs. So in that you can get the endpoint URIs, how to frame these endpoint URIs. For example, see web template, how to apply web template, and REST service endpoint URIs like web user profiles, people manager to get the user profile. Various endpoints, see web lists, which fetch the lists. So my case, I have framed my endpoint URI like this to get the list of items in my bitpacks list. And in the authorization tab, just copy the token which we generated. Go to bitpacks list, click on bulk edit. So give the access token that which we generated now. And remember this word bearer, after that space access token. Okay. After giving these details, just click on send button. Now it has fetched the list of records, bitpack lists. See bitpack 1. This is the first record. If you observe, this is my first record and bitpack 2 is my second record. So if you scroll down, this second record bitpack 2. Right, in this way, we can test the API, SharePoint API endpoints in Postman. So to test SharePoint API endpoints in Postman, we need to generate client ID, client secret, token ID in the SharePoint, and using those, we can test in Postman. We can fetch the access token and we can call various endpoints, SharePoint REST API endpoints using the access token that which we generated from Postman. So guys, in the next video, I'm going to explain how we can do in C# code. Now all this I have explained in Postman. So the same thing we have to implement through code. So how to implement in code, I will explain in the next video. Thank you. Have a nice day.